guys, today I'm going to talk about all of these series I started, finished and DNFed in 2017. So this is actually the first video in my 12 days of Bookmas. It's just what I'm kind of randomly calling it. So from today on, for the next 12 days, I'm gonna upload a video every day. There's just so many things that I kind of want to do to wrap up this year and to start the new year. So I thought instead of spreading out all of these videos throughout the whole of January, where at some point nobody cares about anything anymore, I might as well just do like a 12 days of Bookmas and just kind of give you all of the things and all of the days. And then after that, you'll be sick of my face, but that's okay. So today I want to talk about all of these series of 2017. That's also why my shelf is a little bit ransacked, because I took out all of the books. I'm gonna start with the series that I started in 2017, but these are only the series that I actually plan on continuing as well. All the other ones will be in the DNF category, and these are in no particular order otherwise. So first I have the Diana Madden trilogy by A.R. Torr. I read the first book, The Girl in 6E, and since this is really not a series where the books kind of they do build up on each other, but it's not like it's a continuing storyline where you have to remember exactly what happened in the first book. I'm not like super rushing to finish this, but I do plan to finish this trilogy eventually. Then I have Warcross by Mary Lou. This is gonna be a duology, so I'm hopefully finishing that series in 2018. Then I have The Wayward Children by Seanan McGuire. I read Every Heart a Doorway this year. I have not yet continued so far, but I do want to continue. I'm not sure how many books there are gonna be in this series. I always thought it was a trilogy, but I think there's gonna be more books, which I think is great because there's so many worlds to explore in this. Wasn't the biggest fan of Every Heart a Doorway, like it was fine, but I expected different things from it. But what I heard so far from the sequel sounds very promising, and I'm definitely excited to continue. Then I have Ashes of Gold by Julia Ember. I read the first book, The Tiger's Watch, and I think the next book is gonna come out next year. I have to say, by the time that book comes out, I might have lost interest in the series, so I'm not saying 100% I will continue, but so far I'm planning on it. Then I have the Book of the Ancestor trilogy, I want to say, by Mark Lawrence. I read the first book, Red Sister, and the next book is gonna come out in April, I think, definitely like spring of next year. I'm so excited to continue. Then I have the His Fair Assassin trilogy by Robin LaFevers. Now technically I finished this trilogy, but because now we know there's gonna be more books in the series, I decided to just put this on the series I started list, because I am definitely planning on reading the sequels as well, but I did finish the original trilogy. Then I have Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I read the first book, Strange the Dreamer, this year. I'm so excited for the sequel. Strange the Dreamer was just so Laini Taylor, okay? Like, there's no adjective to describe it. And I don't want to get too hopeful that it's actually gonna come out in spring of 2018, but that would be very good. I need it. Then I have The Shaw Confessions by Michelle Hodkin. This is the kind of spin-off sequel companion trilogy to the Mara Dyer trilogy. I am not 100% sure I'm gonna continue this series. I am definitely trying to stay optimistic, but I think when the sequel to The Becoming of Noah Shaw comes out, I'm probably gonna wait a little bit and see what other people think of it, especially people that felt similarly than I do. I want to stay hopeful, so I'm gonna have it on this list, but I'm really not sure that by the time the sequel comes around, I'm actually interested in continuing. Then I have the Study trilogy by Maria V. Snyder. I read the first book, Poison Study. Definitely want to finish this trilogy in early 2018. And finally I have The Themis Files by Sylvain Novelle. I read the first and the second book in this trilogy. I hope trilogy, because wasn't the hugest fan, and I'm only gonna pick up the third book if it's gonna be available on Overdrive as audiobook. Otherwise I'm not here for it. I do kind of want to see how it all ends. If it's a trilogy, I will finish it, otherwise I'm done. Now let's get into the series that I finished this year. First I finished the whole Lone City trilogy by Amy Ewing. That's The Jewel, The White something, I can't remember, and The Black Key. I was like feeling very neutral about this series. I think it's definitely an interesting dystopian series, but nothing I would necessarily recommend. Then we have the Shades of Magic trilogy by V. Schwab. Obviously I read the final book, A Conjuring of Light, this year, because this was the last book that, you know, was not yet released. I obviously love this trilogy. Not gonna go into detail, but like I still feel so amazing about this, and I just can't believe that it's over. Then I finished the Geek Girl series by Holly Smale. I had already read the first and second book, and then read the third, fourth, fifth and sixth this year. The sixth actually came out this year but like I was just randomly in the mood for it, so I picked it up, finished it, absolutely loved the series, definitely one of my favorite series of the year. Then I also finished the Meradaya trilogy by Michelle Hodkin. In comparison to the first book in the Shaw Confessions, I really loved this trilogy, every single book, even the last book, which is an unpopular opinion. Dogs barking. It's my favorite thing. Can you control your dog? Thank you. Overall, this was like a very, very solid 4-star trilogy for me. I still think this is a good trilogy and that it's worth it. I love dogs, but like, man. And my window's not even open, okay? Then I have the Monsters of Verity duology by Victoria Schwab. The second book, Our Dark Duet, came out this year. I have to say, Our Dark Duet was good, but just a little bit disappointing. Our Dark Duet was good, but definitely a little bit disappointing. I definitely liked the Savage Song a lot more, but definitely overall a good conclusion and a really great duology. Then I have The Abyss Surrounds Us by Emily Skrutsky. I read both The Abyss Surrounds Us and The Edge of the Abyss. Love this duology, another of my favorite series that I read this year. It's so good. I still have not stopped thinking about it. It's beautiful. It's a gift. Then I have The Remnant Chronicles by Mary E. Pearson. I read all 3 books this year. It took me a little bit to get to the 3rd book, but I finished all of these 3 books. Really liked this trilogy overall, although I did think that the 2nd book was weaker than the other ones, but overall really enjoyed it and has a really great conclusion as well. And finally, I have the Clash of Kingdoms duology by Aaron Summerall. I read the final book, Ever the Brave, this year. This is a very standard YA fantasy duology that I definitely enjoyed overall and would recommend if you like to reach for these kinds of things. And finally, I have quite a long list of series that I DNF'd. There's a couple in here that I started years ago, but just decided this year that I'm actually done with it and not gonna continue. So I'm just gonna go through them really quick, except for a few where I have maybe a little bit more to say. First, I have the Sink or Swim series. I read the first book, The Search for Eveline, this year, and I'm just not interested in continuing. Then I have the Match trilogy by Ali Condi. I got the 3rd book Reached a couple of months ago, used, and then actually while it was on my shelf, I realized I'm just not interested in continuing. Then I have the Outlander series by Diana Gabaldon. I tried to get into the 5th book this year and I just wasn't into it. Then I have the Ugly series by Scott Westerfeld. I have read the first 3 books in that series, so technically I finished the trilogy, but I mentioned like 2 years ago that I wanted to read the book Extras, which is kind of spin-off, but also kind of part of the series, but I just kind of realized I'm not that interested, and I think actually while I was meeting up with Maddie and B, we kind of talked about it and they were like, it's not worth it, so. Then I have the Avalonia Chronicles. I read the first book like 2 years ago and it just took too long for the sequel to be released. I've forgotten everything about the first book. I'm just not interested in continuing because I would have to reread the first one. Then I have the Legend trilogy by Marie Lu. I read the first book this year and just felt kind of neutral about it. I'm just not interested in spending more time on these books. Same goes for the Winners trilogy by Marie Rudkowski. I also felt neutral about the first book and I'm just not interested. Then I have the Traveler, I think, duology by L.E. Delano. I wasn't a fan of Traveler and I'm definitely like, get this series away from me. What a disappointment. Then I have the, I don't know what it's exactly called, the IFICS trilogy by a person. I read the first book and it had a satisfying enough ending. I'm just not interested in reading more. Then I have the Midnight Thief duology by Livia Blackburn. I read the first book, Midnight Thief, also a satisfying enough ending. I don't need to read more. And the same also goes for the Goddess Test trilogy by Amy Carter. Satisfying enough. I don't need to read more. And finally, I have, I think the one that's probably most heartbreaking to me personally. I decided to DNF the Novice trilogy by Tara Matharu. I think this has a different name. I just can't think of it. I bought the Battle Mage when it came out, the final book, and it just was on my TBR and it was there and it was there and I was just like, I'm not interested. And then I tried to read it once and I did not remember anything about the second book, and I already had the problem when I read the second book. When I read the second book, I was already confused about things in there because I had forgotten everything about the first book. And when I realized that in order to read the third book, I would have to reread the first and second book, I just realized how much I had lost interest in it. I'm sad because I definitely did really enjoy this initially. I just don't really feel that interested in it anymore. Don't want to spend time on it because there's so many other stuff out there that I think I will like more. And these are all of the series of 2017, everything I started, finished and DNF'd. Let me know some of your favorite series that you finished in 2017 and also some of the series that you maybe started that will be continued in 2018 that you're really excited for. And thank you so much for watching. I guess I'll see you soon. Bye!